In 1938, Peruvian geographer Javier Pulgar Vidal presented one of the most influential classifications of Peruvian territory by proposing the existence of 8 natural regions in Peru. This geographic division, based on altitudinal and climatic criteria, seeks to explain the country's extraordinary ecological diversity. Each of these regions, Costa, Yungas, Quechua, Suni, Puna, Janca, Rupa-Rupa, and Omagua, reflects variations in altitude and climate, and how these factors influence the flora, fauna, and ways of life of local populations. Pulgar Vidal's proposal revolutionized the understanding of Peruvian geographic space by showing how physical and human geography are intimately connected, and how this diversity has allowed the development of different cultures and economies throughout the history of Peru. Likewise, Javier Pulgar Vidal based himself on geographical notions of the ancient cultures of the Andes, which fell into disuse after the arrival of the Spanish, because they imposed their geographic toponymy, limiting the regions to only 3: coast, mountains, and jungle. Background: the ancient inhabitants of the Andes already had important geographic knowledge about the soil they inhabited. This knowledge was thanks to the interaction with their means of production. Thus, they came to identify various ecological floors to which they gave different names. With the arrival of the Spanish to the American territory, the division made by the ancient Andean settlers was imposed by a new one in which the Peruvian territory was divided into 3 large regions: the plains coast, the mountains, and the mountains jungle. In the first decades of the 20th century, the existence of various altitudinal regions within Peru was raised again, criticizing the simplistic division given by the Spanish conquerors. Later, thanks to the efforts of different national and foreign scholars such as Pedro Paulet, José de la Riva Aguero, among others, modern geographic studies on the Peruvian territory were accumulated. These studies would be synthesized and presented years later in the thesis on the 8 natural regions of Peru, 1943, postulated by Dr. Javier Pulgar Vidal, geographer and scholar of the natural resources of Peru, but only based on a vision of Huánuco, Pasco, and Ayacucho. Coastal region, or Chela. A definition: region that extends along the Peruvian coast. It is located between 0 and 500 meters above sea level. Toponymy means dry and sandy land. Climate: sunlight is high between the months of December to May, compared to the rest of the months that present a shortage of sunlight. On the north coast, it is a dry tropical climate with the presence of rain, and arid subtropical on the central and south coast. Its temperature is around 21 degrees Celsius, less than what corresponds to its latitude. This is due to the influence of the Peruvian current, and mainly to the upwelling of deep waters that generates a strong thermal inversion from 850 meters above sea level and the great height of the Western Mountain Range, phenomena that are added to an almost constant atmospheric pressure. Relief: it develops from the sea coast to 500 meters of altitude. It is generally flat and undulating, with mountainous parts especially on the south coast. It presents pampas, dunes, hills, and mesas, in a sandy desert interrupted by seasonal rivers in whose valleys the main cities of Peru are built. Sectors: Northern Chela. It covers the coast of Tumbes, Piura, and Lambayeque. Central Chela. It covers the coast of the departments of La Libertad, Ancash, Lima, and Ica. Southern Chela. It includes the coastal area of the departments of Arequipa, Moquegua, and Tacna. Flora. In the vegetation of the marine coast, there are few species that resist or prefer these soils, being called halophilous. The hills, due to their proximity to the sea, their altitude, and the presence of fog, are characterized by diverse vegetation, a phenomenon that occurs between the end of May and October. 3 in the sandbanks with a water table, the carob tree grows, a common tree along the entire Peruvian coast. From there, you can distinguish wild cane reed, originally from Spain, salt grass, olive trees, vines, and mangroves. As the most important, also yucca and sugarcane. Fauna. The fauna that this region has is concentrated mainly in the hills, such as, for example, in the hills of Laque, which has an average of 60 species of birds, the best known being hummingbirds, owls, and parakeets. It is also very varied among fish, marine mammals, crustaceans. Common are anchovy, grouper, sardine, mackerel, bonito, mullet, shrimp, crabs, black shell, squid, octopus, mussel, scallop, snail, etc. We can find some birds such as the huaraqueque, which has eggs the color of sand, and when it lays them in the sand, no other animal can distinguish them. In addition, on the coast we have the guanese seabirds, which contribute to agriculture due to the fertilizer guano, as well as pelicans. Fact: due to the inclination of the marine coast in a northwesterly direction, the marine shores of the northern zone are further away from the Andean peaks. And in the southern zone, the peaks are closer to the sea, which is why we can find the greatest width of coast in the north, Piura with more than 200 kilometers compared to the south, Moquegua, Arequipa, Tacna with less than 40 kilometers. Activities. What we can know is that the coast or chela are very varied in their cultural activities, that is livestock, fishing, etc. Cities. Among its main cities are, from largest to smallest, Chiclayo, Piura, Solana, Paita, and Tums in the northern part. In the central part, the cities of Lima, Callao, Trujillo, Huanchaco, Chimbo, Paracas, Chincha, and Huacho are built, the most important in the country, with Lima being the capital and most important city. Finally, in the southern area are the cities of Ilo and Camina. Yunga or ravine region. Definition: 1. Maritime Yunga. From 500 to 2,300 meters above sea level and located in the lower part of the western flank of the Andes. 2. River Yunga. From 1,000 to 2,300 meters above sea level, located in the eastern part of Peru. 3. Toponymy. Yunga in Quechua. Yunca, warm valley, was, during the Inca period, a reference to the valleys of the north and center of the Peruvian coast, warm valleys, fertile like oases in the Peruvian desert, whose inhabitants were called Yuncachu and were fruit growers of native fruits such as custard apple, lucuma, guava, and avocado. The Quechuas collectively called the language spoken by these settlers the Yunca language, actually referring to the Moche, Sakura, or Chima languages. 4. Relief. Generally mountainous and complex. Narrow and deep valleys are observed, as well as steep Andean buttresses. 1. Relief of the maritime Yungas. It includes narrow and deep valleys, as well as ravines. 2. Relief of the fluvial Yungas. There are ravines and elongated valleys interrupted by canyons. 5. Activities. Agricultural and livestock, including human occupation. Climate. 1. Climate of the maritime Yungas. It is semi-warm and dry, with scarce seasonal rainfall in summer, and is characterized by the presence of the sun almost all year round. 2. Climate of the fluvial Yungas. It is humid subtropical with rain all year round, especially in summer, more than 1,000 millimeters per year. Flora. The most notable are the reed, the tara, the cabuya, the warango, the beliche, the raytama, the mal, the pitahaya, etc. On the slopes of the hills grow columnar cacti, the acupalas, the aloe, mushrooms, the maguey, and the mido. Many fruit bushes are cultivated, such as the avocado, the lucuma, the custard apple, the guava, the plum, etc., and other species such as the cascarillo or quinine, etc. 1. Flora of the maritime Yungas. The typical vegetation is the mal, the cacti, and the palo santo. 2. Flora of the river Yungas. Due to the rainfall, there is abundant and very varied vegetation, among which we can find mosses, ferns, and orchids. Fauna. 1. Fauna of the maritime Yungas. Pigeons, doves, hummingbirds, malaria-transmitting insects and euta, centipedes, snakes, vipers, lizards, chowcato, tarigare, foxes, viscachas, puma. 2. Fauna of the fluvial Yungas. Ocelots, foxes, viscachas, spectacled bear, puma, etc. Cities. Among its main cities are Tacna, Moquegua, and Caravelli in the maritime zone, and Huánuco, Oxapampa. Fauna. It has animals such as pumas, spectacled bears, and white-tailed deer. Quechua region. Definition. The Quechua region is located between 2,300 to 3,500 meters above sea level, approximately on both Andean flanks of the Andes mountain range, and is the region with the largest population in the Andes. Toponymy. Its name means lands of temperate climates, and because it is a region with a temperate climate located on both sides of the Peruvian Andes mountain range, the name of this region comes from the words Quechua, Quichua, Keswa, Quichua, Chueshua, which means temperate cold due to its climate. Relief. It is made up of many gently sloping mountains and Interandean valleys, which have very good land for agriculture. Climate. Extremely varied climate, from temperate to cold temperate depending on altitude, latitude, and time of year. Rainfall occurs most intensely from October to May. In the north and east, the Quechua region has a subhumid climate with a higher number of precipitations. The southern zone has a semi-arid climate with a large temperature difference between day and night. It is also temperate, conducive to human health with notable temperature differences between day and night, sun and shade. The days are hot in the sun and mild in the shade, but the nights are cool. The average annual temperature fluctuates between 11 and 16 degrees Celsius. The maximums are between 22 degrees Celsius and 29 degrees Celsius, and the minimums are between 7 degrees Celsius and 4 degrees Celsius. Abundant rains between December and March. Flora. The characteristic tree is the alder or lambren, used in carpentry. Other species are gongapa, ericacha, yacon, nuna, pashillo corn, more than 100 varieties, pumpkin, granadilla, tomato, papaya, and tuna rewela, saigwa lacan, nomia, pashillo, shoop, alder. Fauna. The Scotches, hawks, eagles, foxes, pumas, washuas, sheep, South American camelids, the taruka and the opossum, birds such as partridges, pigeons, doves, the gray thrush, etc. Cities. The largest are Arequipa, Huancayo, Cusco, Cajamarca, Ayacucho, Huaraz, Abancay, and Chachapoyas. Sunni region. Definition. According to Javier Pulgar Vidal, the Sunni region is a region of the Andes located between 3,500 and 4,000 meters above sea level. Toponymy. From Quechua, long and wide. Relief. In this area, the rainfall index is very high. The temperatures are more severe, with large thermal oscillations between day and night, and it has slight undulations and valleys. Climate. It is cold with an average annual temperature of 9 degrees Celsius. Dry during the months of May to October, precipitation from October to April. Some frost may occur between June, July, and August. In the northern mountains, the Sunni region is called Jauka, where it has greater rainfall, which makes it similar to the Moor. Flora. Elder, Kentuta, foxtail, Wene, Quechua, eternal youth, a variety of orchid, quinoa, canihua, tarwi, a variety of lupin, OCA, and aluco grow here. A grass that is cultivated and that allowed the domestication of the guinea pig in large proportions is abundant. Fauna. Among the wild animals are the puma, eagles, white-tailed deer, taruka, fox. Among the domestic animals are the guinea pig and auchenid such as the llama and the alpaca. Cities. The largest are near Lake Titicaca and are Juliaca, Puno, as well as others in the center of the country, such as Huancavelica. Puna or Jauka region. The Puna is the highest region that is not permanently frozen. It is sometimes mentioned that it is synonymous with Jauka. However, the word Jauka has an ancient use in Peru and is also equivalent to the ecosystem of the Moors. Definition. The Puna region is located between 4,000 and 4,800 meters above sea level. Toponymy. Puna means altitude sickness in Quechua. The relief of this region is diverse, mostly made up of Andean plateaus with numerous lakes and lagoons. Because of this, it is said to be the altitudinal floor of the Andean plateaus and lagoons. Relief. It is sometimes steep, while others are flat or undulating. Among the most important plateaus in this region and in the country, we have the Callao Plateau, which is located between the volcanic mountain range and the Carabaya mountain range, and the Junin or Bomban Plateau, located in the Pasco, not of the western and central chains of the Central Andes. We can also find foothill plateaus, which are located at the base of mountain ranges, such as Castrovirreyna, Huancavelica, and Parinacocas, south of Ayacucho. Climate. The climate of the Puna region is characterized by being frigid, that is very cold, but with an average that is above freezing. The average annual temperature fluctuates between 0 and 7 degrees Celsius. Likewise, the minimum temperature varies between -9 and -25 degrees Celsius during the night, which was the lowest recorded in Peru while the maximum temperature has reached 20 degrees Celsius during the day. The climate is subhumid, with frequent precipitation during the months of December to March. These precipitations manifest themselves in a solid state from 4,200 meters above sea level as snow or hail. The atmosphere of this region is characterized by the absence of humidity, being almost dry, which causes the skin of outsiders to crack. People who visit these regions suffer the effect of soroche, which manifests itself in headaches, nausea, vomiting, and dizziness, all due to the rarefaction of oxygen in the air that is breathed. Flora. The typical wild vegetation of this region is the ichu, which has multiple uses, and the puya de Raimondi. Among the domestic plants best adapted to the geographic and climatic conditions, we have the bitter potato or maswa and barley, both of which are rarely cultivated. Fauna. The typical fauna of this region is the aucenids such as the llama and the alpaca, highlighting as the most important livestock for the inhabitants of this region. Also the raising of cattle and sheep. Among the wild ones are the vicuña, the taruca, and the condor. Cities. The largest is Cerro de Pasco, Janca or Cordillera region. The Janca or Cordillera zone is the designation given by the geographer Javier Pulgar Vidal to the highest zone of the Andes, over 4,800 meters above sea level, where perpetual snow is found. It is characterized by its steep floors and the difficulty of its geography that prevents the continued existence of human beings, but it does allow a continuous mobilization of people, thanks to the worldview of the Andean human being since ancient times of considering them as the sacred domain of the dead and the spirits of the earth. Definition. It is located from 4,800 to 6,768 meters above sea level. Height of Huascarán. Toponymy. Janca means white in Aymara and white corn in Quechua, and both refer to the white color of the glaciers and the freezing cold. Relief. The Janca region has an abrupt relief and steep, rocky mountains. Covered in large areas by snow and glaciers, they are enormous blocks of snow that are suspended over eruptive rocks, diorite grain, and quartzite. These rocks, mainly on the steep walls without the protection of glaciers, subjected to erosion processes by weathering, crack. Many pieces break off from the bedrock. Highest point is the snow-capped Huascarán with 768 m, Cordillera Blanca, Ancash. Climate. It has a very cold, freezing, icy climate throughout the year, during the day and at night. Persistent ice and snow. It is very cold, freezing, icy throughout the year, during the day and at night. Persistent ice and snow. There is constant solid precipitation, snow and hail. The atmosphere is very dry. The air is very transparent. The atmospheric pressure is very low. The maximum temperature fluctuates between 8 degrees Celsius and 15 degrees Celsius. The minimum between -3 degrees Celsius and 8 degrees Celsius. Flora. Its flora is made up of moss and lichens mainly in the Ureta. Fauna. In its fauna, the presence of the condor stands out, but only as an occasional inhabitant. The condor, the viscacha, the chinchilla, the vicuña, and male alpacas. No species lives in this region permanently. Cities. The largest is La Rinconada in the department of Puno, being the highest in the world. Selva Alta or Rupa Rupa. The indigenous name of Rupa Rupa means hot or burning, as an allusion to the higher temperatures that occur here compared to the Yunga or Andean cloud forest. Definition. The high jungle is located between 400 and 1,000 meters above sea level in the eastern sector of the Andes. Occasionally it is mentioned that it extends up to 1,500 meters. Toponymy. Rupa Rupa comes from Runa Shimi, burning hot. Relief. Its relief is complex, made up of Amazonian valleys, pongos, waterfalls, caves, and steep mountains. Climate. It has a tropical, humid, and hot climate. This region is considered the rainiest in Peru. In some areas, thunder can be heard. Flora. The flora is very varied in this region. It has species such as the bread tree, weak rubber, oil palm, Urena bombinage, tamishi, tururco, aguage, hoju, and balsa wood. Fauna. Its fauna is diverse, highlighting the Rapicola peruvianus or tunky, considered the national bird, the Odorongo panthera onca, peccaries, macaws, snakes, alligators, Motello turtles, corquincho or armadillo, reptiles, fish, mammals, birds, and insects. Among the most representative we have jaguars, sloths, monkeys, manatees, among other species. Cities: Jaén, La Merced, Tingo Maria, and Moyobamba. Selva Baja or Omagua region. The term Omagua means freshwater fish zone, thanks to the rich river fauna that is in its mighty rivers. Definition: region of the Amazon plain that is located from 80 to 400 meters above sea level. Relief: it is made up of the Amazon plain. Among the main geoforms are the Tawampas or aguajeles. Climate: tropical. It is the hottest and most humid region of Peru. It has continuous rain. Flora: vegetation of tropical and flooded forests, highlighting trees such as mahogany, cedar, tornillo, lupuna, etc. Fauna: it is very varied mammals: woolly monkey, maquisapa, otter, anteater, odorongo, sloth, peccary, etc. Birds: white heron, macaw, toucan, parakeet. Reptiles: boa, chameleon, carapa, and yacare. Fish: mullet, catfish, pacius. Cities: Iquitos, Pucallpa, Tarapoto, Puerto Maldonado, Contamana, and Yurimaguas. It is the largest and most swampy region in Peru, with an extremely inhospitable landscape, where there is enormous economic potential for the development of our country. In this region, there are navigable rivers and man exploits wood, oil, and natural gas. But now it's your turn to tell us, what did you think of this information about the natural regions of Peru? Which of them do you think is the most ideal? We will be attentive to read your comments. If you found the video useful, we would appreciate it if you give it a like to support our project and if you subscribe. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.